whispers in the deep dark night.
Welcome to the AI Riff, where we cut through the noise and break down the top AI stories of the week with real talk and real relevance. No hype, no fluff, just a vendor-agnostic take on what's actually shaping your world today. Whether you're in tech, lending, or just trying to make sense of the headlines, we're here to separate the wheat from the chaff and the facts from the fiction. Now let's get this started with your hosts, Mario Diabenedetto, Rob Katz, and me, Kyle Myers. We hope you enjoy this episode of the AI Riff.
Welcome to episode 49, so close to 50.
So
Just
close.
49. So close.
I think we're almost to our annual, our anniversary.
I think you're right. I do think we actually started in May of last year.
We may even be on our anniversary. I think it was like May, the middle of May.
You forgot our anniversary? Kyle, how dare you?
I forgot the anniversary. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is. Is it paper? Is it water? What is it? What's the silver?
Okay.
What is it?
It's just a thought that counts, and you didn't think about it. So too bad.
I saved a piece of the cake. Do I eat a piece of the cake? Is that what I do?
You can. I'm not.
Okay, yeah. Have you ever eaten it? By the way, just side note, have you eaten a year-old wedding cake that you've kept in the freezer?
I've tried.
Yeah, it does not go down as good as the day you got married. But
does not.
And that speaks nothing about the marriage. That is just the fact that cake does not do well in a freezer that long. Okay, just to put it
Now
on
that we
record.
got that said, that's why people listen to this podcast.
Yes.
For nuggets like that.
And what other nuggets do we have, Mark? Oh, wait, we still have John on, too. That's fantastic.
Yes.
John's still with us.
Our tech geek like the rest of us. Sorry, John.
What are we going to talk about this time, Mario?
So we're going to riff off of something that came out it's positioning itself as the next kind of wave of capability within AI. And it's generically around what is being referred to as context models. The particular article that we all shared and we're riffing off of is about Celonis, who has been around a while. And the premise, I'm going to super simplify, and as usual, let Rob go into the gory details because he's much better at that than I. The simplest way to explain is imagine if AI could be fed everything about how you run your business. And I think it's a question mark whether it's how you run your business or how you should run your business, but everything about how you run your business, and then could be aware to tell you, this is how you work. This is maybe how you could get better workflow. This is how you could be more efficient, whatever. Like it would understand the way you do business. And that would be a starting point for everything else you tried to use it for, right? So this context model premise is train it in your business first, and then worry about having it do stuff after it understands all that, which to me sounds really powerful, right? I would love if I had all the knowledge first and then could build off of it, because I find the generalization often is part of the challenge, right? It's if you don't give it the context, it gives you generalized answers, and then you start having to say, well, no, that's not really my situation. My situation is unique to us, and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Clean me up, Rob.
Yeah. So I like to look at it as a large language model like a ChatGPT or Gemini or anything. So it has the knowledge of the universe in all languages, right? It knows way more than the context you think about it because it knows everything. And when you are giving, it all comes down to prompt engineering, right? When you're giving your prompt, it has to interpret what you're asking for out of the context of I'm putting my hands way out off camera, the context of the universe, and look for that little slice you're trying to do. So the importance is, how do you constrain it for what it shouldn't be looking at? That's really what prompt engineering is all about, right?
Can we pause for a second, Rob? I don't want to throw you off your thing.
Yeah.
But that is super critical for people who don't understand the basics of prompts and LLMs. If you give it too broad and it has to go in a broad swath, it loses its effectiveness, right? the more focused you can make what it's looking at, the better it's going to be able to go deep on the specific stuff. If you leave it too wide open, it has too much stuff, it's not going to go as deep, and you're going to get a lesser answer. So it's that point is pretty significant, right, in the overall success.
And the example that I like to throw out to people is the word bark, right? The English language is so hard to begin with. So if you're doing a prompt and you throw the word bark in there, well, is it a dog bark or is it the bark on a tree, right? So you got to give it the context so it knows what to grab onto and so forth. So what we're talking about with this context layer is it's not replacing the LLM, but it is sitting between you and these universe of information and putting in place the constraints based on your business practices. And, could that be that it sucks in your standard operating procedures for how you do your business, and that starts to build up those constraints? Is it pulling in regulatory requirements for your industry, and that's putting in some constraints and putting it's context. It's putting the context around this stuff. And then once it has how it's interpreting how it thinks you're doing business, then all of your interactions with the large language model that knows everything is constrained to the context that it should be looking at. And then to your point, then it can get very deep and very specific. And I'm going to almost say accuracy goes up. The ability for it to hallucinate is diminished with the more context that you give it, because it doesn't have, it's an algorithm. It doesn't have as many other random words that don't belong to pull into its answer that are going to be totally wrong, right? It's constrained on what words it's building as it's coming up with its answers to be more accurate and precise to your context. So I think it's a fascinating concept. I personally am struggling to figure out, well, how does it work? I mean, do you read all my docs and you figure out my business? What are my docs? How do I need to structure the stuff that it's absorbing to be able to know what my context is? So, John, I think you may have some ideas on that. So I'll let you kind of fill in some of that. But that's my take on where we are with this context layer, adding constraints to the universe of knowledge.
Right. Sure. So thanks, Rob. So so you see a lot of organizations, their data, their content that they would be using or consuming. Some of it they author themselves. Some of it's related to outside regulations, policies, laws, things like that. Right. Especially us that's been around mortgage a long time knows we're in a box already, right? And then there's all these rules out there, and so making that part of your box is a big part of. Or that context layer is important, right? So I think it was Mario, you said something interesting. I don't want to get too far off track, but this has been stuck in my head, right? Which is like what you're supposed to do versus what you do, like really got my brain churning. So
absolutely, like a huge, like that could be a whole discussion right in and of itself.
It's kind of like cash business versus credit card business. It's almost this like gray area, right? So, but anyway, back to the topic here. But there's content. So there's content you produce, but there's as a company, but there's silos and teams and departments within that company, and there's oftentimes that information gets, it's redundant, right, or conflicting because people tend to work in silos. What they get addressed, what their findings were from their last audit or quality control results, and so everybody's kind of reacting to things versus being proactive about how all their information is managed and stored. So what happens is you end up, once you start putting that in context for your business, you actually surface some of those problems when you put the end users into it. Even if it's the prompts and you've got your narrow scope of your context for what you're looking at, you end up even having bad information there, right? The information actually conflicts with each other. It's really amazing how it's actually scary how much stuff can get surfaced when you do that, and that's just within itself, right? And then you start bringing in the outside layer of like, well, that policy is actually not compliant, or that procedure is not compliant, or that communication that went out that's on the news post on SharePoint actually is a procedure because it laid out steps instead of just saying, here's the news, go look at the procedure that was written, right? So now you, every time you do that, you have another opportunity to have something get out of date or version wrong and that kinds of, and all that stuff just layers up. And if you're not paying attention, you're serving wrong information, right information at one point in time, but not today, right? Or it gets into where sometimes I might get a different answer than you get with the same exact prompt because of the way that doesn't know, because there's too many sources of the same information, right? Or matched on too many things.
Yeah,
So-
John, you're preaching to what I've been through with the companies that I've been at, and the best companies, one, what do they want? They want to be nimble. They want to be flexible. They want to be able to adapt to the market and how it changes. But in that adaptation, you add new things and you optimize other things and you do things a little different because everyone has their secret sauce in the mortgage industry. Every single mortgage lender believes in their heart that they are doing something totally different than somebody else. And it's this level of like, no, this is, I can honestly say salespeople are people's secret sauce because salespeople are individuals and they have relationships. And I think that's a true statement. But ultimately, we got to produce something that United Wholesale or whoever is going to buy, right? Or Fannie or Freddie or the government agents. Anyone is going to have the same standards, but how they get to it is a difficult process at times. So my biggest challenge with this is AI. This broad, I'll step back and go this way so I can get my hands in this broad LLM has ultimate universe knowledge. It's going to come back and maybe it's the same every time, but it's probably not because every single mortgage person is going to ask the context differently and they may get a slightly different response. So what I'm hearing Mario say is if an organization can come in and industrialize or standardize how this AI has guardrails to keep it focused on, I'm going to get all your processes and I'm going to tell you what you're doing wrong and I'm going to tell you what you're doing right and I'm going to tell you where the regulations are. Well, I don't know about you, but every single mortgage lender has a different compliance officer. And compliance is not, as much as they want it to be black and white, it is not black and white. It is gray, a dark gray, but it is, and it's all about consistency. It's if you're consistently doing something that's not disparate to other customers, typically the auditors will understand and then you may have to modify. But if you're consistent and you're not being disparate treatment to other people, typically your compliance goes away, your compliance problems. However, you can't there are obvious third rails that you cannot step on. But for the most part, you're going to have differences between all these mortgage companies, differences between process flows, differences in personalities and people. No matter what's documented in any procedures manual, there's always someone who thinks they know how to do it better and they do it differently and they get different results. And maybe it is better. But what it's discounting is maybe, and we talked about this before, is a risk down the road. What you think is doing better is actually creating risk later down the road. All these things are baked into reading these documents that are in the best interest of the company, to have your processes documented, have your risks documented, have everything done. And guys, as Mario introduced, there's guys that go out in the world and that's their job, to document processes and do this. And if you could get it in an AI, that'd be wonderful. But how do you keep the AI up to date every time it changes? Like you've got to be consistently, where's the repository for the data? Like notoriously, and I think, John, you brought this up on the last one, is, salespeople don't typically like to enter in data into a CRM. Well, I can tell you firsthand that even technology people don't like to document everything that they do and stuff, and neither do operational people. They go, yeah, this is the guideline, but in between step 4 and 5, there's this other thing we do. That's notorious. So if our industry doesn't change and become more I don't want to call it, it's not homogenized. What's the word? Just more the same. Everyone's about the same. Well, then we do become a commodity. We do become where AI, as we've said on previous podcasts, 18 months until AI figures out how to do mortgages and we're in trouble. And it's like, I don't know. I'm thinking it's going to be a longer path than that now that I have talked this through because it's too variable.
So let me have you guys imagine two different worlds, right? So I'm going to make this up. And there's the context model concept is capable of only one or the other. And I want you to say which one our industry would prefer to get. Not what it should get, but what it would prefer, right? Put your lender hat on. I've got a context model. I can feed it everything that's unique about the way I do business. And I want it to come back and I want it to drive my uniqueness. I want it to create something that says, I understand you specifically, and I am going to give you some, whatever it is that you just told me, I'm going to make sure I enhance that because that's you. Or I'm going to feed you everything I have. I need you to just make it the commodity, right? Kyle, to your point, I need you to just make me industry standard. I don't need anything crazy. Just make it so it meets all the guidelines in the most efficient way. This is not how I'm going to differentiate myself. Just get it done the most efficient way. Which would the people want?
They'd want I think they'd want the individual. I think they'd want to do it their own individual way and conform the data to the quote MISMO standard, where it's the data is going to be standard, but not their process to get it and get it into the mix.
Just so you guys know, I'm asking this question because I'm coding this on the side as we.
I lean towards bucket number 2 because when we were launching Wilco and I was doing research, getting back into the mortgage space and looking at every lender that was out there and trying to figure out who the targets were, we should go sell this new thing to. I hate to say this, lenders, but all of your websites are exactly the same.
Yeah,
we differentiate.
Mario just fell down. He's laughing so hard.
We care about our customers. We care about our employees. We're going to white glove this with you. This will be the best experience. Every website for every lender says the same thing. And you guys are laughing because you know it. And they all want sellable loans at the end of the day. Right? It is a manufacturing process. And if you can produce the widget with no defects, you end up making more money, period. That is lending. So why wouldn't you want this tool that ensures your widgets are manufactured error-free and you can focus your business on the stuff that is how you differentiate yourself in your customer service and your white glove experience. So I think it's going to be option 2, Mario.
John, you are the deciding vote. No pressure.
Good job.
I win.
So wait, I thought you kind of said the same thing I said, but then you answered the second question. I said individuality, and you kind of conformed the non-individual answer to individuality.
Maybe that's why I'm confused. I vote for both.
John in Switzerland.
Yeah.
That's okay. Mario, what's your answer?
So I'm gonna take a contrarian view, and I'm not gonna name names, but I will talk about people who have been building technology in mortgage for 30 plus years over different pieces of technology, right from DOS all the way forward.
Okay, I've got two people. You don't have to name names.
And they know how to do what you said, Rob, right? How can you efficiently manufacture this and make sure it's conforming? And they could be in business, in their current business, as much as 10 years at this point. And you would have to ask, why would somebody who's built this over and over and over again take 10 years to be able to build something that is simply manufacturing a consistent product? And the answer is despite what we all wish, lenders do, at least today, push for the idea that I want to do it my way. And no matter how much we want to say it's somewhat conforming, no offense to any lenders listening, but you're all crazy, right? Like, you get in your mind, this is the way we do business, and it has to be that way, and that's cool. Like, if it's your secret sauce, I'm good with that. But the truth is there are just a never-ending number of variations in how people get from point A to point B, and I'm sure there's some math and science that somebody could quote that like says why that is, but the reality is that's our industry. And if after however long we've been doing mortgages, forever, they haven't conformed, are we kidding ourselves that they would ever want the conforming version?
Well, and I want to hop in real fast. I'm going to do 2 questions for you guys. How many of you have ever in your career manually gone through the process of mapping out a mortgage banker's process of how they go through and how the loan goes from desk to desk and department to department, everything like that? Okay. In that process, how many times have you heard, well, I don't know why we do it that way. We've just always done it that way. Like 80% of the answers is we've always done it that way.
Or that's just the way I was told to do it.
Yeah. And they don't know why they're doing it. That's how they were told to do it, right? So to your point.
1 out of 500 exception drives the whole process because.
That's right. That's right. Because one time on a Saturday, this thing happened, and like we don't want that to happen again.
That's right. So Mario, the point I'm trying to make is, everybody does it different. They don't know why they're doing. They think they have special secret sauce. They're really doing it different because they've just always done it that way.
I would tend to agree with you, Rob. Unless you got niche products that other companies don't have, like an investment source that is totally different, like you have DSCR loans and you have all this other stuff that goes on with the non-QM stuff. I get non-QM. You might have a point that you are kind of specific to these non-QM lenders and guidelines. But if you're doing agency stuff, you're doing, FHA, VA, and agency, there's not a lot of, you still got to get the data. And the loan has to be good, and you can't look the other way if they tell you something that, would contradict the data they already given you. So
right.
The standard's there.
Yeah, have you seen an underwriter write-up? Like, they constantly write exceptions. That's fundamentally what they do.
Yeah. So, like we talk about this manufacturing process, right? So this is something I think about a lot. And as we talk about data and sources and pulling things in, most of the manufacturing process today is data intake and then a bunch of people validating that it's correct and makes sense, and then against a set of rules, right? Guidelines and things. And then you close it and then make sure someone did a job right. And then, right. So that's like, we're talking about data and pulling, like there's most of the information for most borrowers is accessible, right? Like income, assets, there's all these tools. They've been around for a long time. Day one certainty, all those things. That's where we just haven't captured that. Like, there's an opportunity to take the person, because you're not looking for fraud. You look for, document who is entering the fraud, putting fraud into the process, or making up document, like all that stuff. We put all these, and there's all this technology that goes into it to make sure you're trying to capture that. When we don't even need the piece of paper. Sorry, I have to have a prop. A piece of paper, a PDF, or a report, when it's all there. And I get this privacy and things like that people are concerned about, but most conventional, like W-2 buyers or, borrowers, we'll call it, are they should be able to go through pretty seamless, and you should be able to manufacture a loan that is, easy to purchase because it's got reps and warrants, because you pulled all the data through the whole thing. I just haven't figured out why that hasn't caught on like it should.
Well, I know why. It's kind of like I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I will put on the tin hat slowly. The industry created itself to support itself. So the fact that what has gone to the cost of producing a loan, has it gone down recently? No. And it's been just constantly rising. And what has also arisen with it? More vendors doing more things around it to make you save money, but yet the cost of doing a loan is going up. And yes, technology is only a piece of it. Administrative is the other part. So I'm not going to blame technology for increasing the cost. but the value prop was the technology would replace this person's role, and they would have to do less work. So we can make that an ROI. You can get the ROI on that. I just don't know why there's a runaway cost on what it takes. I don't know if it's inflation. Is it just inflation? I think it's beating inflation.
So
Aren't we at something like $14,000 or something like that?
let's tease this as the next episode, right? That we talk, because my understanding is roughly half of that is loan officer compensation. And so we need to have an open conversation, because it may be legit that you need to pay loan officers what they're getting paid in order to get this business. Like and I think that's a whole conversation that's worth having, because we always go to the tech part, and that is, like you said, only a piece of this puzzle, right? Let's break down the other parts. Like, is it realistic to think that the other parts should somehow be impacted by technology?
Yeah, I agree. Oh boy, this dog is tired.
This dog is tired. We have overwalked this dog. So let me see if I can give an exit question. You guys have all the power in our industry. You get to talk to the standards bodies and let's imagine our standards body have endless amount of money to do what we're about to say. And you get to say to them, I want you, standards bodies that I'm not naming out loud, to generate an industry context model that everybody can leverage as open source. Useful or a complete and utter pipe dream?
Two different questions. That's two different questions.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think it'd be useful, but
well, meaning
I don't,
is it possible?
But I don't think it's a pipe dream.
Is it possible? Or would you be wasting your time? Like, there's no way you're going to build such a thing, and there's absolutely no way you're going to open source and everybody's going to use it.
Yeah.
It would have to be driven by like Mismo. I was
about to say, Kyle, it sounds like you came up with the idea for Mismo 30 years ago. Right?
Yeah.
We're still getting there. Oh.
Yeah. Rob, pipe dream?
I think it would be. I think it'd be very possible to come out with a tool that is a high confidence chat agent that lets you search and ask any question and returns valid requirements with a high level of accuracy. In one of the companies I work with, Reverse Plus, we've done that for the reverse mortgage game, right? We've set up a RAG system, populated it the right way, put in the right constraints, and it works. It works very, very well. Could the industry do something like that? Yes. Could the industry build a context-aware platform that lenders could adopt that does more than that? It comes back to what we were talking about, which is, man, just go manufacture your widget with no defects. Follow these steps. You'll do it, and you'll end up with a loan you want to buy, but lenders all want to be different, so no one's going to want to follow it. So I think you're going to get resistance from a marketplace to adopt it, but I think that there are some things that could be rolled out that would give that context model a very solid foundation. Could it be executed on? That's a different story. And I'm with John, man. Mismo is still very painful, right? And it shouldn't be. And yeah.
That's where I'm at. Like, this is a tech dream and an implementation impossibility. There is absolutely no way you could ever build and adopt this in the mortgage industry. It sounds great. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing's impossible.
I'm throwing down the gauntlet, Kyle. I'm throwing it down.
What's Klarna at right now? $23. I called for it to be at 100, didn't I? I think I'm $75 off.
You put Rob's money into it.
Yeah, that's right.
I did. Sorry, Rob.
No problem.
Well, on that note, we've degraded so far. I'm Kyle Myers.
I'm Rob Katz.
I'm John Norris.
And I am still Mario De Benedetto.
And this has been the AI Riff.
Wires hum like whispers in the deep dark night. Shadows dancing strange under neon light. Digits spinning fast like a gambler's hand. The clock chimes change, it's the new command. Oh, the future calls with a voice so clear. same path. Under skies of innovation, we redraw the map. Oh, the future calls with a voice so clear, a melody of progress in every ear. No turning back, the wheels in motion, a tide of cold like the endless ocean. Set the rhythm to the beat of change we sing. Every click and hum a key that rings. A revolution, quiet, but it's vast. Building empires where echoes of futures cast.